Hey, my name's Bonnie, streaming from Awabakal and Warramai Land, and this is The Good Stuff on Newcastle Live.
This is
Good.
good stuff.
The good stuff.
Today, we're having a chat with Charles Firth and James Schlofel about their show, Wankernomics. We'll tell you about a local brewery that's brought home gold from the Australian Independent Beer Awards, and find out how to get pre-sale tickets to see Morgan Evans' hometown show later on this year. But first, it's time to find out what's happening around Newcastle and the Hunter tonight.
The good stuff.
It's Temple of the Stag, 90s grunge-inspired jam night at the Stag and Hunter Hotel tonight. The Huntley Tavern will host a male life nude drawing workshop tonight. And there are a stack of trivia events happening around the region. To find out more, head to newcastlelive.com.au.
Newcastle Live. Newcastle Live.
The 6-month-old Good Folk Brewery has just taken home gold from the 2023 Australian Independent Beer Awards. Good Folk's Danny's Wedge Tropical Pale Ale won both the hearts and the taste buds of the judges. Obviously, the owners Phil and John Elsley are stoked with the results of their first entry into the awards, thanks to their talented head brewer, James Horn. If you're keen to have a crack at this highly acclaimed pale ale, head over to newcastlelive.com.au or check us out on Facebook to see what everyone's talking about.
Good stuff.
Charles Firth and James Schlofel have joined forces to create a brand new comedy show called Wankernomics. This show will teach you tools such as how to win in meetings by being passive-aggressive and solutionize the corporate world. Wankernomics will hit Newcastle City Hall on June 22, so I'd like to welcome to the good stuff Charles and James of Wankernomics. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having us.
In your show, you aim to expose the inner workings of the corporate system, including endless meetings and corporate mission statements. So what inspired you to delve into the topic of work-life hell?
It's a great question. Do you know what? Before I got into comedy, I actually worked in the corporate world. And so I have sat in a lot of meetings where people are developing mission statements, where people are using the word solution and circle back and strategize and optimize. And so I've got all of this inside of me. And I think Charles has been exposed to that world as well. And it just felt like a very natural thing to do, to kind of get it all out, almost like a healing process, I think, to kind of expose that world for all of its ridiculousness.
Yeah, look, and I've never actually worked in the corporate world, but I am a natural wanker.
Yes.
So I think it was very easy for me to pick up and give tips on all this stuff.
Yeah, so it's almost been a cathartic experience getting to create this show.
I think so. I look, and the other thing we've found in doing this show, because we've done it in quite a few cities now, is that this corporate work-life wank, whatever you want to call it, the jargon, the meaninglessness of it, it infiltrates everything. And I think so many people have come up to us and said, oh, I can totally relate to that. And it's not just people who work, in an office, wearing a suit in the corporate world. It seems to kind of infiltrate everything, teachers, nurses, people who work in councils, obviously people who work in government. Everyone is exposed to this kind of wankiness and jargon and just inefficiency, I think. And so, so I think it's kind of resonating to use a corporate term.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is true. Like, I've totally changed the way I email people, having done this show, like realizing all the phrases that you use. Like, oh, I just wanted to touch base about that, or can we just circle back now, or thanks in advance, like all that stuff. And you can see in the audience, like, as you're doing the show, you see people in physical pain just relating to it, just being seen as being the wankers that we've all become. We've all become that.
Yes.
And so without giving too much away, can you give us some tips on how to stop being such a wanker?
Well, this is not a tip about how to stop being such a wanker. This is a tip about how to embrace your inner wanker. This show. So there are 8 units in this show. We tell you how to speak like a wanker. We teach you how to be a wanker in a meeting. I mean, a lot of this comes naturally to most people. We go through a few case studies. You know how to put together costings for proposals that are ridiculous. So there's lots of great tips in there. No, but you will walk away from this show a certified wanker. That is all part of the promise of the show.
I think my favourite part of the show is when we teach people how to send passive-aggressive emails. I think that's it's sort of compulsory in the corporate world and just in life in general to send passive-aggressive emails. And one of the phrases that we get everyone to use during the course is the phrase, "It's on my radar." Have you ever heard that one? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for telling me that. It's on my radar. That literally means I'm not going to do anything about that. It's on my radar. It's fine. So it's those sorts of, I feel like, how most shows and art is supposed to sort of add value to the world. I feel like this show subtracts value from the world and makes it a genuinely worse place to live.
Right. So look, both of you have extensive experience in satirical comedy through The Chaser and, of course, The Shovel. So how does this collaboration in particular bring a new dynamic to your work? And what can fans of your previous works expect from this new venture?
Well, for fans of our political stuff, there are 1 or 2 mentions of Scott Morrison, so look forward to that. No, but seriously, this has been really refreshing because it is different for us. Like usually we're deep into Australian politics or global politics. This is quite a step away from that. But I think that's been one of the reasons why it's been so fun. In terms of what people can expect, like I said before, I think everyone can relate to this. Everyone who's got any kind of job or has had a job or just interacted with someone who's had a job will be able to relate to this.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the fun things about this show is that we've decided, we've got witty, sort of cerebral comedy, which has sort of been our, sort of regular stuff over the years. But there's also just very silly stuff in this show. Like we've got a whole part where it sort of turns into a game show for about 5 minutes, and we just get the whole crowd to sort of join in this silly game show atmosphere, and there's a real sense of levity, and it's just fun. Which I think, I mean, our previous shows have all been hard slog, so it's very refreshing.
And have you found any boundaries or any topics that you've found hard to cover in terms of the corporate world when you've been creating this show?
Well, I mean, one of the most awful stories of Australian corporate life in the last few years has been, I don't know whether you remember, but Rio Tinto, I think it was back in 2021. They wanted to sort of mine a whole lot of iron ore, but there was a sort of sacred Aboriginal rock art site above the ore. And so what they did is they got together a whole lot of consultants, hired a historian, chatted with the local elders. They created 100 pages of reports. The board then read all those reports, and then the company went out to this sacred site and they blew it up. And it was just, I mean, that's like, what can you say about it? You can't say anything. It's just so appallingly bad. It's just, yeah. So
we tried to think of a lot of jokes about that, but in the end, it came up with nothing. So
we decided just failed.
The best way to deal with that.
To say any jokks about it. We still included it in the show because it's a great case study in what Australian capitalism is like. But there's no jokes.
No jokes.
Yeah.
So what have been some highlights from getting to take this show on the road and getting to experience people's reactions from it so far?
Our very first show, I think it was, someone came up to us who's a partner at, it was PwC, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Before the latest PwC scandal. This is going back a few months.
Yeah.
He said he loved the show. He said it was a bit too real for him, some of the insights into consulting. But also said that we have this section where we go through it, we do a quote for a government project, and quoted up at $25 million. And he said that was way too cheap, a little bit skinny, I think was the term that he used.
Yeah.
So look, it's been great to get those insights and build them into the show. But just in general, a lot of positive feedback. I think it's been fun.
Yeah, I mean, I personally enjoyed all the groupies. Like, usually the groupies are really, attractive, sexy young people, whereas the groupies this time around have been middle-aged white men. So
wearing suits.
yeah.
Well, look, Wankernomics will hit the Newcastle City Hall on the 22nd of June. Charles and James, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much.
The good stuff.
Hometown hero Morgan Evans has announced a show in Newcastle later this year. Evans is returning to Australia this year as part of his Life Upside Down tour and will play at the Civic Theatre Newcastle on the 9th of September. Frontier Touring and Spotify pre-sale kicks off this Wednesday, the 31st of May at 12 p.m. And general on-sale tickets are available from Thursday, the 1st of June. To find out more, head to newcastlelive.com.au.
That's it for the good stuff today. I'd love to say a big thank you to Charles and James from Wankernomics. Their show will hit City Hall on June 22nd. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. for more of the good stuff.